Hi, and welcome everyone, and good morning. We are really excited to see so many people joining us for this HR automation webinar. We will be running this webinar in English. We have some English-speaking people in the audience. And the webinar is an hour long, but we will try to finish a few minutes early so that you have time to refocus before your next meeting. And we will start with some presentations. So my name is Alexandra Fürst. I'm heading up our people and organization practice here in management consulting in PwC. And we support our clients with everything from HR and people strategies and wider organization transformations and change management. And I will be leading this webinar today together with Niklas Lindersson. And you will tell us everything we need to know about automation and HR.
Yes, most definitely. Like I said, my name is Niklas Lindersson. I'm working at our Intelligent Automation practice, working with clients around the different techniques and the consequences of intelligent automation.
Great. And with us today, we also have Joachim Karlsson from the internal HR function. Hey, Joachim.
Hi, all. So my name is Joachim Karlsson, and I head the HR Tech Lab within PwC Sweden, which is basically a nesting ground where we try to marry new technology with our internal HR processes, basically.
And you are sitting in the basement today.
Yeah, I'm calling in from my paternal leave in our new house that we just moved into. So excuse the noise, and they're actually digging outside as well. So I will do the best I can. I will be on mute.
So that's not our HR tech lab you're saying.
No, it could be. Give it a few years though.
Great, thank you. And then we have Simon Persson Amsen, and you will also help us to monitor questions from the audience and keep track of time.
Yes, that's right. And sitting here on a reasonable distance from the rest of you guys. Just as Alexandra said, I'm Simon Persson Amsen. I'm part of Alexandra's people and organization team, so doing work in the same HR change management areas.
Great. And we will start with just some tips for a better webinar experience. So the webinar today will be recorded and we'll share it with you all afterwards. If you have any questions to us during the webinar today, and we're very happy for you all to share your questions, please use the meeting chat. Your name will appear when you ask a question, but this will not be seen in the recording afterwards. But if you prefer to stay anonymous, you can always email your questions to Erika Klaus, and she will forward them to Simon. Other few tips, just keep your camera off. And of course, put away other work and tasks. Just enjoy, ask your questions, and let's have fun. Cool. So in short, the purpose of this webinar is to share inspiration and concrete examples of how to benefit from HR automation. And we will start with some broader perspectives on HR and automation before kind of digging down to the more concrete examples. So what are the major trends within HR and automation today? Well, it's hard to talk about any major trends today without mentioning the COVID-19 pandemic. And I think most of you have seen quotes and citations around that nothing has accelerated digital transformation as fast as the current pandemic. And not only that, the current situation has also forced us to move to a digital world much faster than expected, but also blurring the lines between our private lives and our professional lives, as you can see with Joachim today, for instance. And this also goes for the expectations that we have on tech. So we often have much higher expectation and are used to a better tech experience in our private lives than we have in our working lives. And this is even more concrete now, and that leaves us kind of disappointed often with the tech experience that we have at work. And this is actually true also pre-corona. 2 years ago, we asked over 12,000 employees around the world about their experience with tech at work, and 73% replied that they knew of technology that would make them produce higher quality or working more efficiently at work, but they were not using it. And I would say that the current pandemic has accelerated this realization. So, employees' expectations are driven by experiences that happen outside of office hours, and our consumer experience is affecting our employee experience. So, as an HR professional, there's a lot of focus on the employee experience, but sometimes we forget that the technology is a major part of that employee experience, and we need to understand that connection and get it right. So if you look at how we experience tech in our private lives, how that drives our expectations that we have at work, we can follow this in 5 steps we have here. So as a private consumer, but also as an employee, I expect a connected experience. So that means that it needs to be seamless. I don't want to have to jump between different systems to make my work done. I want it to be mobile. I want it to be 24/7 and updated. I trust my peers, meaning that the word of mouth influences the behavior, and I follow my leaders and influences at work when it comes to adoption of new technology, for instance. We are informed, and that means that we are willing to look for information and also administer self-service if we know how to and where to find information. And actually, in our study, we saw that more than 50% of the employees prefer digital interactions when it comes to common HR tasks. We can make smarter choices today, which we want, as I said, tech to enable us to work faster and better and more efficiently. And we have a voice as employees. So organizations cannot afford to lose great talent because of bad tech. Niklas, do you have anything that you would like to add to this?
No, I think like you said, the smudging of the when office hours starts and when office hours stops puts ourselves in a context that we are more kind of a personal. We might move off office hours. You might do some laundry if you're working at home, and then you catch up later on. So, like you said, the border or the smudge between the office and the non-office, saying that okay, I'm constantly connected, especially now with the 5G. Everything's going to happen so fast. We won't be okay with slow system, whether it's in personal life or in work life. So I think that's going to our personal expectations going to steer where we are at work and what we expect from our workplace. So and also looking at the has a voice perspective, as you mentioned the last year, I think that's very, very interesting. I mean, looking at some of the votes, quiz you can do online, e-learning you can do online. We're going to expect that from our workplaces as well.
Great. So just to summarize this introduction, what does this mean for HR? So we really see that HR in a way is in the kind of epicenter of change right now, and it's driven both bottom up from the employees and top down from kind of leadership perspective. So bottom up is driven by the increased expectations from employees on high standard HR services and consumer-like experiences, which actually puts pressure on the HR function itself to transform. And then we have the top-down perspective, which is business-driven transformation, where we implement new technology, such as automation and AI, which is actually affects the business in terms of what skills do we need in the future, what roles will we have in the organization, are robots taking over some of the human tasks that we used to do, what does that mean for strategic workforce planning, and here HR is, I mean, it is expected really to have a key role in understanding how tech impacts our work, but also to drive those kind of upskilling initiatives and changes that we need to see in the organization. So we also see kind of shifting role for HR when it comes to be really a part of driving the tech transformations that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, and especially looking at the upskilling perspective, like you mentioned, seeing around the globe, we're looking at a lot of upskilling programs that's going on within companies. We're not there yet on the Swedish market yet, but I think it's around the corner. And when we say broad, larger scale upskilling, doing it in a more playful way. I mean, having your own installing app that you can use for e-learning, learning on your own terms, whether if you want to look at TED Talks or do some puzzles or whatever it could be, to do it in a more playful way. We're used to doing that on our off office hours, and now we could see trends going that we're getting that into our organizations. So that's, I think that's the next big thing for organizational wise, the broader upskilling programs.
Perfect. So do we see any specific tech trends affecting HR in particular?
Like beside what we just talked about, of course, the upskilling part and the expectations of digital interactivity, such as AR, VR, and so on. We're going to look at 3 different techniques later on. One of them is chatbots. I know that some of you in the audience are already working with chatbots within your organization, maybe not within HR, but chatbots are becoming much more intelligent than we were used to, more of a conversational AI perspective. And connected to that is that also when you do search in Google or anything, and also the reason why we have this in English, right? The specific, maybe that's not a specific tech trend in Sweden, but I mean we're multilingual, so is the technique. We don't have any like language. We're not expected to have language barriers. That may be looking at some of the municipalities that I've been chance to work with, is that there could be language barriers, talking to client and citizens, and technique can help us with that, and the technique is here to do that.
How does that work with chatbots, using different languages? Language needs.
I mean, we're going to look at one example of a vendor here, but depending on which platform, but the language, the NLU, the natural language understanding, which is an algorithm that understands and interprets your language. So you can actually split a sentence. You can use different kind of languages, just as you do in Google. You can mix Swedish and English in Google, and you will get a good answer anyway.
And what about mixing and thinking of more Latin languages like English and or I mean our symbols with Arabic or Chinese? Is that possible as well?
Yeah, it is. Once again, it depends which vendor. I'm not going to mention the specific vendors here, but it is possible, yes.
Cool. So what would you say are the key benefits of increased automation in HR?
I think it's important here to. I think it's helpful for the audience if we click to the next slide. Here, I mean, there's a lot of benefits with automation in general within an organization, and it's the same with HR. We should look at the same benefits as any other kind of department. Of course, if we're looking at chatbots, intelligent automation consists of various techniques, right? So looking at the chatbots, for example, you improve service, of course, you get an instant 24-hour service, easier access to info instead of searching in company policies. You can ask the chatbot to retrieve that for you. You can use it as a digital assistant. You can also, looking at the looking at the conversation, gaining insights. You can look at your different kind of systems that you use for if you're a workforce or whatever. You can visualize the data in a very playful way, getting the insights, keeping up with trends and so on. And of course, unloading administration, you can see here some examples. You can also achieve consistent answers. Imagine that you're two brothers or sisters or siblings or whatever that have the same employee, and they're going to a funeral, saying that, okay, one of them is asking their boss, okay, what are the terms and conditions for going to funeral? Do I need to take vacation or whatever? And then get an answer. A specific answer said, yes, you have to take a day of vacation, or not. And the other one gets another different answer. And this I know for a fact, because this has been a specific example. So, and therefore you could also use it to increase the consistency, of course, and like eliminating human errors and person dependency. And I would say the pandemic has shown us the very importance of trying to get away from person dependency.
Because of people leaving or falling ill.
In a very short, exactly, in a very short term,
Right.
I have a question here, or more of a comment from the audience. It says that HR should be no different to any customer experience automation. Employees are our internal customers. Unfortunately, the current HR systems are far away from Salesforce-like experiences, CRM experience, chatbot experience, the kind of experiences you have for external sales and marketing purposes. They should be the same internally. And she says that she's glad to see that work is being done to closing the gap.
Cool.
Yeah, and I think that's also a thing that although that your system legacy, so to speak, is not that up to date, you can still use the technique to get that up to date. Although some people say that you're putting Band-Aid on a bleeding wound, and you need to get into the surgery itself. But it always depends on the costs. I mean, getting top management to invest in new systems, there's still a way to start your digital journey or efficiency journey in that perspective, I would say.
And as I understand it as well, it is a benefit with new technology because you don't need to really take all those steps of kind of implementing. I mean, if you are maybe a little bit behind, you can still implement. I mean, go straight from, let's say, Excel to a cloud solution, or actually implementing an HR chatbot, even if you don't have everything else in place when it comes to HR systems.
Correct.
Isn't it also,
so you can't take a big leap.
Isn't it also a little bit a proof of concept that if you do something, it's very user-friendly, it's very efficient, you get the gains both for the employees, but also for the people sitting behind the system. Then you can sort of eat your way into going to more areas or bigger systems.
Yeah, definitely. There's numerous way of getting started, but the thing is that retrieve your data. Don't be afraid of it. Just and don't looking at try to demonify it, because it is there. It's just up to you to find it. And I'm gonna very soon. I'm gonna show a way of retrieving data, very easy, in an easy way. I would say, to get it as rhetorical as possible. So I'm actually going to start off of showing how to use a chatbot. Just once again, an example on how using a chatbot. Chatbot can be used for many different in many different areas, but I'm going to start with showing a chatbot, using the chatbot more as a personal assistant, rather than you will see also it can fill out forms and so on, of course, or just be a smart Q&A, but more of a digital assistant perspective. So I'm gonna.
Do we wanna go straight to the demo?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, we're going straight to the demo. Yeah, so I'm going to start out with Chatbot, and then I'm going to process intelligence in the way of process mining, which is another tool. I'm going to briefly show how you can visualize data in a more playful and intuitive way.
Great.
So I'm just going to. There we go. So here we have the chatbot, and I'm going to ask the chatbot here how many, for example, here, how many vacation days do I have left here? And of course, some of you might already think, wander around the GDPR perspective here. You can use this as an in-logged, like on your internal system, of course. You can do it using your BankID, or any other way of showing that you're really you, right? And where the data is stored, all the personal data is hidden with this specific tool. So if you're going to ask them around any kind of illness or whatever, insurances or whatever that is personal, it's going to be hidden. So here it asked me for my employee ID. Of course, for this demo, I'm always a little bit nervous about the live demo. We talked about this, but bear with me. Let's hope this holds on. There we go. Doing that, saying that this is my employee ID. No, sorry. Well, I didn't even remember my fake. So let's try. Is 9 in the end? Can I rephrase that? Okay. I didn't understand your question. Okay, try again. Sorry. Let's do that. Okay. 913 9133 6649. Okay, Sam has this number. Okay, I have 9 vacation days remaining, and I mean this. I'm going to show really soon that you can look at the dashboards. You can also have a see when the question is being asked, and I think that you connect that to, okay, when do we need staffing, or this, how are you actually planning your vacation around office hours, or you do it at home? Okay, it's pretty similar, home and office at the moment, but
outside of office hours.
Yeah, outside of office hours. Yeah, correct. Once again. So, okay, I know that I have 9 days remaining. I'll write that I want to apply for vacation. Which date? I'll start on Monday. Which day? Friday next week then. Based on then I have 4 afterwards. Shall I send this to my boss? Okay, yep. Submit. Receive a confirmation email whether it's okay or not. Thanks. So feel free, anyone, you guys out there, to fill up with questions. So these are one of the ways that you can use your chatbots. There's you can also look at.
We do have a few questions coming in, so maybe we should.
Yeah, sure.
So the first one, I think, is an interesting one. It says, do you believe there will be a standalone chatbots like the one you're showing now, or do you think they'll be integrated with whatever chat solutions that that you see, so Teams or Slack or those kind of?
This technique is not dependent on whether it's standalone or not. You can integrate this in Slack or Facebook or wherever, whichever platform you wishes to.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, there's one. I'm reading it as we go, so I'll just read it aloud. It says, "Hi, DigiFriends. My experience is that there's a lot of work that needs to be done to feed the chatbot with info. That is also a reason why organizations hesitate to implement the chatbot. What is your comments on that?"
Once again, depending on which vendor or platform you're using, a lot of the vendors are actually already prepping their modules, the HR module. So it's not that of a big work, but also make sure you have a lot of knowledge. You in the organization already know a lot of the questions that are frequently asked questions, and also that you can use the chatbots itself because it's monitoring all the questions, and then you can see, okay, what haven't we thought what haven't we teach the chatbot to do yet? Then you can see what are the needs. When are people asking what kind of question? Any kind of questions. So don't go for a silver bullet, thinking, okay, the chatbots is going to be mastering all the questions from the start. Baby steps. And that's also a rhetorical perspective. You can put your, like, I'm new at work, or you can brand it anyhow. So you can steer the expectations. Hope that makes sense.
So you can say that the capabilities and the maturity of the chatbot will evolve over time as you keep using it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most definitely.
And how long time would you say to just get started and to have it in kind of okay level for an HR function? How long time should we expect that to take?
6 to 8 weeks.
6 to 8 weeks. And is that
roughly? You could squeeze it in.
Yeah.
Depending on how many question you wanted to be able to handle. I'm going to show you some other, because just keep on coming with question. It helps us a lot with the presentation. But here's can I register travel expensive? Yes, I can. I can use this for uploading files. Here now you won't see, but right now I'm uploading a receipt. Then I'm going to use an OCR technique, which is built in this specific chatbot. And now it's actually interpreting it at the moment. Okay, this seemed to be a receipt of 89 Norwegian crowns. This is correct. Yes, it is correct. And great, you haven't there more? No, I do not at the moment anyway. Do we have any more questions? I can see questions popping up. I love this. I really love this.
Yeah, sure. So there's some activity, which is great. So first there was some backing of Stina's opinion. where the comment was that info should come from HR systems and payroll systems, and often those two are different and not integratable, or costs a lot to integrate. So automating fully the admin flows is a fantastic idea and a huge opportunity. So it's more of a comment, but then we have a question as well. That is, Vera wondering how big of an organization is needed for this to be cost effective, both in regards to the actual need of a chatbot to reduce admin time, but also in regards to the ROI. New tech is coming all the time, and in a few years there might be cheaper and better alternatives if the organization is quite small. Maybe the investment isn't worth it. What are your thoughts on this?
Wow, that's a really good question. Is this a certain breakpoint at a size of a company? It depends on what you want the chatbot to do, of course. But still, if you have with minus 50 employees, I wouldn't say that the chatbot is needed. It actually depends, because I've been into project where we're looking at where a chatbot actually been more of a looking into previous historical what do you say? It's for scientists. There was a small firm trying to see for Medicare perspective. This is within our firm. There was actually a German science and Medicare company, and they weren't a large company, but they needed instead of trying to look in previous journals and so on, the chatbot was doing it much more rapidly. So it's hard to say, but like the person that asked the question, it happens a lot, definitely. But I think also you should use the people that you have internally to become chatbot learners.
But I guess there also it depends what you're using the chatbot for, because if it's only for the HR function, it's a smaller company, then maybe the return on investment isn't that big. But if you use it to kind of offload managers and employees with their kind of travel expenses or vacations or everything kind of administrative that we normally maybe use HR for as well, then you save a lot of time that we as employees could use for doing our work better or more efficiently. And then I guess the return on investment might come a bit quicker.
And actually haven't bumped into anyone that using a chatbot specifically only for one department. You can use it at the customer perspective. You can have an in-log for internal and external.
I think that's a bit of a segue into the last question we got here, which is, does it mean that HR services or other shared services will disappear? Is there an opportunity for full automation with AI?
No. People are people. We work with people. I think that the HR department will work differently rather than disappearing.
Yeah, and when it comes to HR shared services, it's been, traditionally quite on the low-level administrative tasks, and obviously the chatbot can help us, or AI, with those tasks. But we also see in the development is that the HR service centers are getting much more advanced and can help employees with more kind of specific advanced questions and being more of a center of excellence as well. So I think also the role of the HR service center is shifting because we have new technology helping us with
definitely. And I think you should in the future staff your HR department differently, because I'm about to show like data visualization. That means that you might need one knowledge within data visualization, data crunching.
Just one more question from my side around the chatbot, because we talked the other day and you told me about tone of voice and kind of interpreting people's a little bit state of mind. So
Yeah.
I thought that was really interesting. Can you just tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, especially if you're using Chatbot, could also use using text to speech or speech to text, saying that you can also talk to a chatbot. And then it depends on how intelligent the chatbot is. But once again, start crawling before start running. I wouldn't say that you should start with using Alexa or whatever, integrate that with the chatbot, and then they can hear in the tone of voice saying that this has been a negative call or a positive one. So that's actually I would say that is possible at the moment. I could show you the statistic looking at, okay, when are people asking questions, and has it been a good outcome or a bad outcome? Easy thumb up, thumb down, of course, but still you get a tone of voice.
And also you could program the chatbot if you sense that a person might be very stressed or affected or upset in a way. You can also connect you to a human, for instance.
Definitely, and I would recommend that, saying that, okay, so look, you're searching for such words then that are very negative. Then, do you want to talk to one of your colleagues, human colleagues? I'm just a digital colleague, and do you want to talk to a human colleague? And then send the person to that colleague instead. Of course, with all the keeping the previous conversation in an email or in a text message or whatever. They can see, okay, what has the employee been talking to the chatbot about?
Yeah. And another question on that, because you mentioned GDPR before.
Yep.
And that personal details are not seen in the kind of log or the track record of the chatbot. But which people in the organization would be able to see it, or who is it hidden from?
From everyone.
Okay, so if I'm the HR manager, will I be able to access any details?
Well, that you could control, of course. So depending on what is necessary. I mean, if there's a question that is a very, very sensitive character, you can hide it. And then, of course, as a manager, you could get access to it in a way, but that's up. I would say that's up to you. All the vendors has a very high GDPR, safe environment, I would say.
Great.
Yeah.
Do you want to show more examples, or shall we show the PwC Jobot?
I think I could just quickly get into the analytics perspective. I'm gonna end up. I was supposed to show how to order a phone or whatever. You can use the chatbot. I hope it's been clear. The limits are quite few on what a chatbot could do. So this is a very common forgot word. Sorry.
This is useful for everyone as we return from vacation.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It took me, I think, 7 minutes to get into my computer as I got back.
So, okay, reset in chat, reset by email, and then you get a new email saying that, okay, you need to give your here reset by email, and then please type the email you're using, and then I could type in mine, and then I get an.
Even though your name is Sam now in the chatbot.
Yeah, exactly. So, okay, I think I'll stop there with this demo. Anyway,
there's one question in the in the chat that it's a straightforward one. Let's see if the answer is as straightforward. It's about the price tag for a chatbot. related to the question on the size of company where it makes sense to implement. Do we have an idea?
How thick is a book? No, to be honest, they're different vendors. They have all different kind of pricings, monthly pricing, depending on how many questions and so on. It's looking at more of a monthly revenue cost, but I would say to get started, it's difficult, but it's not. I mean, you could do it in a. It depends what you want to do. You can do it very, very simple. Just learn it some questions if you want to do it a smart FAQ or whatever.
But are we talking a few hundred thousands?
Yeah.
Are we talking a million or?
No. And that shouldn't be necessary. So just briefly here, you can look at the conversation, which date, how many messages it takes to within a conversation. You get a conversation feedback. You get the route intents here. This is my in-log for the previous days. I'm looking at vacation, general likes, dislikes, sentiment, the positive or negative, and also the devices. I think devices is very interesting perspective. Looking at, okay, when are people interacting with the chatbot? Is it on their computer? Often connected to office hours then, probably. Smartphone, then you probably can see a pattern. If you compare the smartphone, looking at the smartphone, and also, okay, at what time are we interacting with the chatbot, and then you can use that for insights. So I'll leave it there. I'm way over time, so I think I'll just have a
because we at PwC, we've been using a chatbot for our recruitment services for quite a while now. It's called the Jobbot. So we will bring in Joachim to tell us a little bit about our own experience.
Back from the basement there.
Yeah.
So basically, I'm really happy to talk a little bit about the history and background about how the PwC Jobbot came to be. And if we turn on the next slide, we have a couple of pointers, and you can say it started in 2017 when we within the recruitment team we saw that the talent that we wanted to reach out to, they didn't reach out to us. At least they didn't do it, within office hours and within our usual channels. We also saw that chatbots were really on the rise then, and we wanted to investigate what we could do in terms of, automation, in terms of efficient work processes. And we talked about that a little bit earlier in the webinar, but, you can have a Facebook that's internal, or you can have a chatbot that's external. So we chose a external facing chatbot for this one. And basically what we wanted to do was we wanted to engage with the talent on their platforms. We saw that social messaging apps were actually booming more than social media or social messaging platforms. So we wanted to be on all the platforms that we could be, basically, and talk to the talent. So what we did was we did a prototype basically in a couple of weeks. After that, we'll get some buy-in to get a bigger budget where we could develop this better. And we basically started to write a script on how was the tonality to be in the chatbot. With that said, I mean, are you chatting with? We wanted the chatbot to feel like a millennial, and you can criticize me all you want, if how a millennial speaks and chats, but we wanted it to be a more familiar kind of tone in the chatbot that you're used to when you chat with your friends and other people like that. So when you turn on to our webpage, it's www.pwc.se/student, you get a pop-up basically where you can chat with Jobbot, and you can ask questions about PwC, what's PwC. You can ask questions about what what jobs are out there. You have an FAQ as well, and you have you can do one of our tests just to see if if you get the feeling of that maybe PwC is some place you want to work with at. And this is also a really interesting point of view, because the people that are our webpage, our career page, is also the people that are on Facebook, where you can interact with the chatbot as well. They are they are somewhere in the middle of the engagement funnel that we usually talk about in the talent acquisition. They know what PwC is, they're quite interested, and they actively go to our platforms to look for more information. And those people are quite important for us. It's important for us to know what they want to know about PwC and what's important for them, and as values come. So when we interact with them and when they ask questions to us, we get an aggregated data about what kind of questions do they ask, what's important to them, and we can take that data and we can go to maybe our employer branding managers and say, okay, so this is what a lot of our talent are asking about. Is this something that we're showing and talking about on when we're external, maybe in job fairs and stuff like that. And I would also like to show in the next slide a little bit, an example of how the data visualization could look for us. So we can basically see how many users we have a week in chatting with the job bot. We can see demographics, we can see gender, we can see age, and as you can look at this, the middle box here, the age group is, I think it's around 25 years to 34 years, and that's basically the target group that we wanted to reach out to when we started doing this chatbot. And you can also see which times within the day that there are people are most active within the chatbot, and you can also see like some kind of flows, conversation flows. So you can see, okay, where does someone come in chatting with the chatbot? What's usually the second step? They say hi, they look for jobs, and then they click on the jobs. And what we did was we integrated the chatbot with our ATS, our application to applicant tracking system. So you could basically you could use our buttons, or you could use free text and say, hey, I'm looking for a job as a accountant in Malmö, and it would send that to the ATS and ask about if there's any jobs, and send it back in a carousel that you can swipe through. And then you came to the application process, basically.
I think, Joachim, you kind of answered one of the questions that came now. It says, do you process the leads through our job bot? Meaning, do we come back to the people who ask questions?
Good question, because that was one of the main goals with the job bot. We needed to have some kind of call to action with this one, not only a gimmick, because we can answer questions, but we also wanted it to generate something. So you can apply for jobs through it. You can also sign up for our and you also have certain other ways to access information or contact people within PwC if you chat with the chatbot. So yeah, and I think that's also I think one of the questions was about the value, the ROI within a chatbot depends on what you're using it for. And so what we do also now is we gather talent insights, and that's something that usually HR departments pay a lot of money to make other companies do that kind of research for you and then send back a report. So in a way, we can also save money with that, doing it ourselves automatically.
Perfect. Great. There's a lot of interesting questions, and time is ticking. We also really want to show some process mining examples, because now, Joachim, you've been talking a little bit about the process and the recruitment process, and there's more insights to get from that kind of work. So let's jump over to you again then, Niklas.
Yeah. If you could, on the next slide, just to just a quick picture to get the right mindset. What you say or see is not always what you get. And I've also put, if ever, what you get, saying that the tip of the iceberg is what you see and what you're expected to in how you should work within a process. And the bottom beneath the surface is how you actually work. So there's different kind of process mining tools, of course. I'm going to show you just a couple of minutes on how one of the tools works, and I'm gonna.
You need to take over that.
Yeah, correct. Share. There you go. Share. So just to show you how it works, this Celonis is one of the tools. There are many different tools that can be used. What this tool does is tracks digital footprints. Anything that is tagged with kind of information or order numbers or whatever it could be, you can track it through different systems. Here, for example, we have a purchase to pay analysis. I'm going to show you an HR process as well, but I think this is very easy, straightforward. This is not rocket science at all. Looking at this picture, this is how a purchase to pay analysis, a purchase to pay process should be. So it starts with you create a requisition, then you create a purchase order, then you send the purchase order, record the goods, and then invoice, and then you clear the invoice. So this straight on forward, in 1.1 million order items, it actually only covers 38% on how this company actually works. So it will drag this down, looking at the 3 top ways of working. It still covers only 64%. Then you can see here that, okay, one of them is going to the requisition, then send purchase, and then they change price. And also looking here, for so the second most common is a straightforward one. Sorry, this is actually, here we go. Then they actually skip the purchase or the requisition part. So this is not a rocket science. It also says here's how many days there's been between the different steps. And if you would like to look at the specific HR process, it's a hiring process. Not the most intuitive. It's a lot of pictures.
It shows that people are not keeping to the process.
That is correct. It shows here very clearly they're not keeping to the process, saying that, okay, a normal way is to go from you start a new one, then if not hired, then of course against to reject it and the process ends. But if you have a straightforward process, it should be an interview, always a screening process, then an interview, and then maybe a final interview, and then the rejection comes. Here you can keep track on saying, this is not the way we always work. And then we can also, of course, looking at the details, saying that, okay, we do have a rejection rate of 92%, high rate 4%. And so this actually, I would say, the next slide I'm going to show you, this is a tool. Any other tool, please feel free to contact me or anyone else here within the team regarding, okay, could we look deeper into that process mining? I know that process mining within HR, I haven't heard of anyone on the Swedish market yet that works in this way. And it also actually comes out to visualization. So if you could look at the last page here, and this is actually the absolute most important part of retrieving. We talked about how you can use automation as a digital assistant. Now we're looking at how to retrieve data in processes, for example. We can also retrieve data from any other kind of system, of course, CRM system, ERP system, or whatever. It is how you visualize it. You shouldn't need to be a statistic or analyst or data cruncher or whatever to understand your data. It is actually how you visualize it. You can visualize, okay, looking at if we have a global company, looking at maternal leave or vacation, you can get a quick glance on, okay, which countries are having a vacation of specific dates or whatever. It is how you visualize it. You can looking at the absence and time management. You can do the sentiment analysis here, of course, through via votes and so on. But it's how you visualize it and getting a very intuitive way. I think this is Power BI, which is a visualization tool. So start using this because the interaction here is much easier to use rather than PowerPoint or anything else.
And also, I think this is one of the major benefits for HR to kind of jump on this journey, because you become more data-driven, you can make better decisions, and starting to play around with this, you also will, what we often see with our clients is that kind of discovers an interest for data and for tech in a different way, which also affects behaviors and skills and so on, and then kind of maturity escalates.
Exactly. This is a foot in the door. If you want to start your digital journey, if you haven't started it yet, start it with digging within your own data, demodify it, show it in an intuitive way, playful way.
Great. And I think also that's our main kind of message when it comes to what are the key challenges, right?
Yeah. Just dare to find it, just start. Not waiting for it, not seeing it as a huge mega project that costing a lot of money. Try to dig into, see what kind of data do you have. Start play with it. I would say on the first topic, act now.
Great. And I can see it's 2 minutes to half past. We said we will finish a little bit earlier. So we just want to say we have a lot of services, obviously, around this topics. We do HR chatbots, intelligent automation, process mining, data analytics, but we also work with what we call upskilling for digital world, where we help companies in their upskilling journey and with strategic workforce planning, where we also have a lot of different tools. So that might actually be a subject for another webinar.
Yeah.
But I know we already had some really good questions in the chat. Thank you all for interacting with us today. And we are really happy to keep this conversation going. So we will share the presentation with you and the recordings. And please don't hesitate to get in touch if you have more questions and that we can support you with.
Take care and have a great weekend.
Yeah, happy Friday.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.